Hey, I've seen this one. This is a classic.
Welcome back to Trashflix and Burn, the channel that mainlines cinematic regret so you don't have to. I'm your host, Max Cynic, and today we're diving into a Chuck Norris thriller that dared to ask the question, what if Die Hard, The Silence of the Lambs, and a Hallmark movie got tossed into a blender, and then someone forgot to plug it in? That's right, it's 1988's Hero and the Terror, brought to you by the crack-fueled fever dream factory known as Cannon Films. They saw Chuck Norris's face and thought, what if we gave him a serial killer, a baby subplot, and a script written on the back of a Wendy's receipt? And thus this abomination was born. It's got everything neck-snapping gym bros, a romantic subplot so lifeless the coroner didn't bother, just tagged it and moved on, and Chuck Norris trying to emote, which is basically like watching Granite try to cry. Honestly, Chuck has the acting range of a dial tone. But hey, at least a dial tone is consistent. He doesn't act. He just shows up, squints, and lets the editing team pray for the best. Oh, and one more thing. This movie should have come with a tetanus shot and a VHS of propaganda for dummies. Danny, I work alone because I hate you. O'Brien is your classic brooding LA cop archetype. You know, the kind of guy who probably thinks talking to co-workers is a form of weakness, and whose emotional range spans from grimace to slightly louder grimace. He's unleashed on a serial killer named Simon Moon, a name so aggressively non-threatening it sounds like he should be playing acoustic sets at a vegan coffee house not gutting people in the dark. Now Simon, or as the script very dramatically insists, the Terror isn't content with just killing people. Oh no, he's also got this whole theme park dungeon lair thing going on. Because why just murder when you can cosplay as Pennywise's less creative cousin? But here's the twist. Our terrifying villain doesn't get taken down in a bloody shootout or an intense psychological chess match. No, he falls off a ladder. That's it. This is the big bad. Death by Home Depot. Imagine being a feared serial killer and your reign of terror ends because you didn't follow basic workplace safety. You know, your film's villain sucks when the final boss fight feels like it was choreographed by America's funniest home videos. The media anoints Danny a hero like he just cured cancer when all he did was dodge a fucking ladder. One ladder, and suddenly he's the second coming of John McClane, please. Somewhere Die Hard is clutching its pearls and filing a restraining order labeled cease and desist this nonsense. And let's talk about his trauma. Bros haunted by flashbacks that look like someone fed a discount fog machine into a Sears photo booth and whispered, act sad. It's not PTSD, it's PSH, short for please stop, honestly. Fast forward 3 years, the killer's dead. Or at least that's what the coroner wrote after shrugging and going, close enough. Because in this cinematic universe, a death certificate holds about as much weight as a high school hall pass. But wait, murders again? Shocked Pikachu face. Could it possibly be the same guy who escaped prison using nothing but a hacksaw and a fat roll of plot armor? You don't say. What's next? He fakes his death by switching bodies with a scarecrow. Meanwhile, our hero Danny, now rocking impending fatherhood and unresolved trauma, has to battle not only a serial killer who looks like Sloth from the Goonies after a 6-month cycle of HGH, but also a script that reads like it was punched out by a malfunctioning typewriter. And in classic disaster movie logic, the city's leadership decides the best course of action is denial. Because apparently the mayor's campaign platform was public safety through willful ignorance. Nothing says civic duty like telling a top cop to play peekaboo with a body count. The final showdown takes place in a movie theater. Not because the killer's got some twisted sense of theatricality. Nah, it's because the production budget was basically $14 and a coupon for popcorn, and they probably used that coupon. Danny stumbles into Moon's DIY murder dungeon tucked behind a wall like it's Scooby-Doo Crime Scene Edition, and then we get a climactic fight that looks less like life or death and more like two sleep-deprived dads slap fighting over who forgot to pick up the kids. Spoiler alert, Chuck wins, barely. And let's be honest, it's not because he's a badass, it's because the Terror straight up dies of embarrassment mid-fight, then boom, baby's born, wife's glowing, Danny's a hero. Cue the credits on this unholy mashup of Lifetime drama, Hallmark schmaltz, and action movie Mad Libs. Cannon Films baby, where scripts go to die and Chuck Norris goes to gently karate his way through emotional subplots. So what did it all mean? What was the deep, thought-provoking symbolism behind the Terror squatting in an abandoned movie theater? Was it a daring metaphor for Chuck Norris triumphing over Hollywood's most grotesque cliches? No, it meant jack shit. It was dumb, it was hollow, and it had the narrative depth of a soggy paper towel. This wasn't storytelling. It was the result of a script that lost a bar bet and had to be written on the back of a cocktail napkin. The terror isn't scary. He's a damp fart in the wind of 80s villains. The hero, not heroic. He spends half the movie flexing his jawline and the other half looking confused, like he walked onto the wrong set and just rolled with it. And the plot? So flimsy it could be taken down by a light breeze, a skeptical cat, or an unpaid intern with a red pen and a grudge. This movie isn't a film. It's not even a bad film in a fun way. It's a goddamn PSA against Red Bull-fueled script writing sessions at 3 a.m. It's the cinematic equivalent of hitting yourself in the face with a VHS tape. Trashflix and Burn gives this one 5 flaming turds out of 5. If you like this video, seriously, what the fuck is wrong with you? Seek help, like, immediately. But before you get institutionalized, smash that goddamn like button so the algorithm knows to spread this cinematic sickness to other poor souls who've endured Chuck Norris's straight-to-VHS war crimes. Subscribe for more cinematic malpractice, because Hollywood may have forgotten these dumpster fires, but we sure as hell haven't. Drop a comment below with your worst hero moment in film. Bonus points if it involves Mullet's man pain or an abandoned amusement park covered in fog and regret. Until next time, keep the matches close. We've got more trash to burn.